are now looking at 6 ballistic missiles directed towards Punjab, which have been successfully repelled.
Oh, yeah. So the funny part of that is that Pakistan is, making claims that we fired 6 missiles on our own citizens, and 5 of them actually landed. One was destroyed. Whatever lies they are saying. So the thing is, they are trying to cover up the solid wall of Indian air defense that we have. They fired 6 missiles towards India, Punjab. We brought them all of down. For them to save the embarrassment of how bad they are at waging missile warfare, they're trying to cover this up. So the defense capability that we're talking about is actually, so since these were missiles, it is a pretty good chance that we could have used the S-400 series.
Yes.
And hence, it goes back to the fact how critical they have proved in our air defense infrastructure, and that, the country is safe today, civilians are safe, military installations are safe. So it has been a great boost to our air defense. And I would say now the case which, Jan Sinha would have been part of it all that during that time, and so many of our seniors who actually fought and argued that we need these systems, and that it has come to fruition that yes, we were right. That because the fact is that let the armed forces decide, take a call on what we need to wage a war effectively. If you're going to weigh every weapon in terms of what you think is good for us, it is going to cause problems. So every call that has been taken in terms of weaponry or radars or aircrafts, those are Rafales or S-400 series or Barracks missile or the drones we've got, every single anti-aircraft system has proved its weight in gold today. So I think we've done a fantastic job on those procurements.
Group Captain Vinod, is Operation Sindoor now a reflection of how far our offensive and defensive capabilities have come, not just in terms of tech, but in terms of the procurements also that we've made?
Absolutely, Akanksha, because 24th of October last year, I remember that date very clearly because I just tweeted about it as well. To one of the journalists, and later sometimes to Anand, I have talked about ad nauseum the importance of air defense. I said, if you don't have a credible air defense, might as well hand over your country to the enemy on a platter. Because air defense is such an umbrella which will keep you, not getting wet from any kind of rain, sun or sand. So that is the kind of capability air defense has, and it is a very, very and an extremely important aspect of a country. If country can today stay together, like General mentioned, not end up in balkanization, which it looks like Pakistan is heading that way, is because of not having a good air defense. So, I mean, as much I can emphasize about air defense is less. That's one. Second, and which is also the most important aspect, is something called mass mixed with mobility and connectivity. Mass is you need to have en masse air defense. Mix, you need to have long, medium, and short and close-in weapon system, all of which is beautiful in our case because the close-in weapon system is also acting as a counter UAS thing. That means any small drones coming, kilo ke drone aa rahe, even those are being taken out by these ACAC guns and other phalanx guns we have integrated into this larger scheme of air defense. And the last part is the backbone on which the air defense information flow is happening, which has taken, I'll tell the viewers, which took us 10 years to put it. This backbone is completely our own, as in it does not depend on any national backbone. It is the purely a 4G backbone on which the information flow takes place. And it is not one, it is not two, it is 6. So you absolutely cannot touch it. It is impregnable, mathematically impregnable. You can take out one, you can take out probably 2, you can take out probably 3. Actually, out of the 6, only 1 is enough. So that is the kind of backbone on which our air defense and rest of the systems are sitting. If you think you can, a country like Pakistan come anywhere close to the capability of India, they are absolutely sadly and very badly mistaken. And to top of that, Kanksha, is that we are friends with many friends, like you said some time ago, friends with benefits. And so we are friends with French, we are friends with Israel, we are friends with America, we are friends with Russia.
That's
We are friends
exactly the
across
point
the
I was
aisle.
about to take forward with Stephen. Thank you for talking about friendships, because Stephen, today we see while India's own indigenous capabilities have really come a long way in the last decade, thanks to DRDO, but take a moment to reflect on our defense partnerships, whether it is with the United States, even Russia and Israel, and France have all helped and jumped to India's rescue as well.
Yeah, I think they've all helped. I would provide just a bit of caution to the discussion when we talk about India's relationship with the U.S., be it military, strategic, political, or other, in that while India is certainly viewed as an ally of the U.S. government, particularly when it comes to the contest with China or the competition with China that both countries have, just bear in mind that you're not dealing with the most knowledgeable leader ever of the US government in Donald Trump. Just a few days ago, he said that the India-Pakistan border tensions go back 1,500 years.
No, that's
and
true.
you folks obviously know much more about your country's history than I do, but I think that reflects a level of ignorance that could come through in various ways, not in the very short term, perhaps, but in various ways in terms of India's dealings with the U.S. So just know who you're dealing with under this current administration, even though there is an alliance there.
No, I think that's a critical point, which is why I think, India has made it amply clear that this is going to be our fight. And when it comes to Kashmir, they're not going to be welcoming any third-party mediation. India has made it amply clear. But I want to actually bring in, Group Captain Vinod, if I could bring you in on that point. As far as third-party mediation is concerned, I think the United States also acknowledges that this is our own conflict to deal with, which is what was amply clear by what the US Vice President J.D. Vance had to say.
Absolutely. In fact, Dr. Jaishankar couldn't have been more clear than I. He said we want partners, not preachers. So we don't need preachers, we need partners. And today we have the capability to say that on the world front, to say, bro, don't come and preach me, come and partner with me, understand my problem, be the part of the solution. My problem is what? My problem is when my people go on to have a ball in a wonderful place, you come and identify their religious leaning and kill them. And you think the current administration will take it lying down? Please, I think those days are gone. If you do this, and this is what you're going to get. And if you continue to do this, you will be dismembered. Absolutely, rest assured on that. But like General said, balkanization could be a probability. I want to take it to a step further and say,
Sure.
I hope it happens.
Major General Sinha is also very patiently awaiting his turn. Major General Sinha, thank you for being so patient. I want to bring you in on how, when it comes to the Kashmir conflict and terrorism emanating from Pakistani soil, India will hit, and it will hit hard, and this is only going to be India's job. Has India made that amply clear?
See, Akansha, what we have displayed, especially after, I will not take what we have done it on 2016, what we did in 19, but I just take it from 22nd of April onwards, if I take. See, we waited 2 days, then we had the CCS meeting and openly came out and we have given. It is very important for my foreign friend to understand that, what we have told, and unprecedented, nowhere in the world has happened. This, suspending the Indus Water Treaty, and mind you, all these places which we are talking about is along that, river system. All along that river system, all those places are being hit. See, it is not. No one has able to do it. No one, even no one has threatened, and we have done it. It started on 24th onwards, and today we are here on 10th, I think, May. No one, no power, even they have pointed a finger and we are doing it. We have stopped Chinab, we are doing Jhelum. I'm just saying, because you asked certain question and we have got a foreign guest sitting with us.
Yes.
Because, See, and we didn't get any preaching. When you are talking about the United States of America, I'm not batting for them, but we didn't. JD Van was here when it happened,
Yes,
and day
yes.
for yesterday, JD Van has very clearly, has brought it out that it is we have nothing to do with this thing.
And that's what
Yesterday,
makes it so ironical. That's what makes it so ironical that the day it happened, he was very much in the country and he was being warmly hosted and welcomed and toured around. And that's why I was particularly taken aback by that statement.
Yeah, I can't say. Second thing is that we are displaying to, especially the when we call third world used to be, now we say global south, the strategic autonomy which we have taken, and it is just not because we are just making or preaching someone. We are practicing it with the strategic partnershiping with everyone, even the adversaries who are with the crossroad. We have got strategic partnership. Russia.
Okay.
Proven partnership.
Okay.
United States of America, in spite of that Chabahar, because they had some concern in Chabahar, they wanted that India should leave it. India has done, finally we have got about 99 years commitment over there. And I think it is coming into that way with Iran.
Sure.
We are able to do it. So basically what we are, exhibiting, and thank God, I say that 22nd April is a bad day for Indian history, but the resolve thereafter, and 9 May onwards, if you see what we are doing it without speaking. Have you seen anyone of our, NSA or Prime Minister or Foreign Minister making and thumping the chest that we have done it this, we have done that?
Yes.
We are calmly
right.
sitting in the glare of the complete world, carrying out a review and integrating. See, the CDS system, if you see, which started in 2016 again, when the Rafale came, with all theater command in operational conditions, in warlike conditions, we are doing it. All meetings, there is a CDS. It was announced in 2016.
Ms. General Sinha, I'm going to request you to continue staying with me right now. In fact, I must, for all our viewers who are tuning in, it's roughly 4:30 a.m. Indians are going to be waking up to this very brave news, and a salute to the Indian Armed Forces as we've successfully destroyed and targeted 3 air bases in Pakistan, and as Indian government sources are telling CNN News 18 that this is a custom-made response by Indian Armed Forces. I'm going to continue with that discussion, but before I take this forward with Stephen as well, Stephen, take a moment, have a look at these visuals that have come in from Noor Khan Air Base in Pakistan, which was targeted by India, and that massive explosion that took place, which also indicates that it was an ammunition dump over there that was targeted by our air-to-surface missile. Let's play that out.
भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है। ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे, बिल्कुल घर के सामने। अभी एक जहाज गुजरा है और ये नूर खान बेस के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है। भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है। ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे।
Okay, 2 points. Keep in mind, Stephen, it's a Pakistani video made by a Pakistani. So clearly the DGISPR cannot deny that that explosion didn't take place on Pakistani soil, because we have been observing consistently that there's a disinformation campaign being run by the country. But having said that, I want you to also reflect upon what makes this entire conflict and the fight so unique, especially if we were to compare it with Gaza or Ukraine. India doesn't need the kind of support that Ukraine has been begging for from its NATO allies or even the United States. Gaza, as many have said, has only relied for support from its Islamic allies, who also have perhaps not been able to do much.
Well, frankly, what makes it unique is that India and Pakistan are nuclear powers. And there's, I think, a great concern in many quarters about this escalating in ways that could prove catastrophic if nuclear weapons are used. I'm not predicting that's going to happen. I'm certainly hoping fervently against it and even betting against it. But when you have this kind of intensifying conflict going on, it raises concerns in many, many quarters, in many, many capitals, regardless of who's right or wrong here. I'm not criticizing India's stance towards Pakistan here, but I am emphasizing that what makes this unique is that you have two nuclear-armed nations going at it in a way that seems to be escalating.
That's a very fair concern. But I want to ask you this: that today India has been brought to a point where dialogue and diplomacy is done. India's foreign ministry has made it amply clear that escalation can't be pinned on India, because escalation happened on 22nd of April when that massacre in the meadows of Pahalgam took place. We are done with dialogue and diplomacy. We've seen how this is one of the oldest conflicts after the Second World War, and Kashmir happens to be the territory which has been illegally occupied by a rival nation, that's Pakistan. The UN also couldn't come up with a solution. How does one then address the problem of terrorism, Stephen?
Well, you address the problem by trying to provide all sorts of disincentives, which is obviously India's aim here. I will beg to differ in the notion that dialogue and diplomacy are permanently done. If they are done, then we're in really a hopeless situation. Sooner or later, India and Pakistan are going to have to get back to talking with each other. Even if the talk is harsh and even if the disagreements are run really deep, the alternative to dialogue and diplomacy is ongoing, escalating war. And I don't know whether you can simply count, even if Pakistan backs down, which I guess is the hope in your quarters and many parts of the world, they'll need some kind of a fig leaf that could be offered by dialogue and diplomacy. So I really, as I said, want to push back against the notion that those avenues are done, because the alternative to their being done is very dangerous.
And that's a food for thought as well. Group Captain Vinod, have we reached a point of no return? And as many would say that now, if India has entered this conflict and has resolved to destroy those terror camps, then is it time to go full throttle?
Absolutely not. In fact, at every point in time, and just want to disagree with Stephen. Stephen, at every point in time, we gave an exit. We are calling it the off-ramp. At every single operation, including this one, we have the capability to do Noor Khan into 10 on all the bases, air bases as well as the military bases in one wave. That kind of capability we have possessed today. We did not do it. We don't, a broken up or a balkanized Pakistan or with refugee crisis at our back door is not something any country would want. We absolutely do not want that, and that is why our talks have been, our speeches have been measured. Quick point about how mathematically incorrect these generals are. How can I fire a ballistic missile? Is called a ballistic because it takes a ballistic path. That is why it is called a ballistic missile. How can I fire a ballistic missile which will take a ballistic path and come and drop on my own head? It is mathematically impossible, isn't it? How can I do that? They should use some kind of brain, isn't it? For a 1,000-kilometer range missile, the minimum range at which you can hit a target is something like 300 kilometers. Well, anyway, that is.
But Stephen, if I want to bring you in on that diplomacy bit, Stephen, I know it's not going to be about settling scores and it can't be brought down to doing the maths, but what is your assessment when India actually embarked on this entire Operation Sindoor? Because India went for the kill as far as 9 terror camps are concerned. Those 9 targets were not military installations, they were not civilian targets, they were 9 terror camps. Pakistan could have just left it at that.
So I'm sorry, what's the question?
So the question here is, what is Pakistan doing by retaliating now? If it is not concerned with terror camps that are, very much bred on their soil, but if it's not concerned with those terror camps, then there's perhaps no need to retaliate.
Oh, well, look, I can't, I'm not sitting in Islamabad or reading any of its political, or more importantly here, military leaders' minds, because the military in Pakistan are the people who are calling the shots with respect to many things in the country, certainly including this conflict. But I think what I'll speculate about is what's going through those military and political leaders' minds is a degree of saving face, which actually probably influences a lot of conflicts, that they felt they'd lose so much face in the face of India's attack, which again, I realize is in response to a horrible terrorist attack, killing many innocent people in Kashmir. The Pakistani leadership I believe feels that it needed to respond for the sake of maintaining its own credibility in the country, its own leadership, maybe it's even its own hold on power, because if it didn't respond in some way, it might be weakened in those regards. Having said that, don't get me wrong, I'm not defending Pakistan for what it's done at all, and I'm not saying that the way it responded was necessarily legitimate or the best way. But you asked me what might they be thinking. I think they're thinking about their own survival, their own credibility, their own strength within their own country, and that's what these counterattacks might be about.
Major Manik, I'm going to give you a quick 1 minute. I know, because we have some breaking inputs coming in, but do you think this is just a face-saving attempt by Pakistan, or is this also retaliation to defend the terror camps that they have been harboring so far?
This is retaliation, definitely. Where do they land actually? They always want to maintain that thing that we don't breed terror, we don't support terrorists. But the funeral, do you remember the funeral that happened for these terror leaders? The entire military brass was present there. Their coffins were placed in national flag. They were given hero send-off, which was an acknowledgement of that these people, the terrorist leaders and their families, are not thought of as terrorism or families. They are thought of as national leaders, part of their administration, which are due state funerals. So they have to prove it to these tanzeems, these terrorist organizations, their people, that we are aligned with them, even whatever they can keep saying in front of at global platforms, irrespective.
All right.
So this was a retaliation, and yes, they are getting back at that. With,
all right. I have some breaking inputs coming in. What we are learning is that Pakistan's airspace has been closed to all types of air traffic. Airspace will remain shut until 12 noon today. This is the big breaking input that we are bringing to you. Clearly goes on to indicate, Ayushman, that this is a very tense situation over there across the LOC. Ayushman, can you hear me?
Yeah, Akanksha, I can hear you. So basically the development that's coming in from Pakistan is that in the wake of India's counter-strike, where we have crippled 3 crucial air bases, now Pakistan has closed its airspace to all kinds of air traffic. Airspace will remain closed until 12 noon today is the information that's coming in from the Pakistan Airports Authority, which has now closed the airspace. But remember, Akanksha, also when Pakistan launched its first counter-strike, commercial airliners were still running above the skies in Pakistan. They were clearly using those air carriers as civilian shields, and that entire point was exposed by the Indian government. Vikram Misri also pointed it out, and the entire Indian establishment highlighted the fact how Pakistan was using civilian carriers as shields to launch that counter-strike against India, to punish India for Operation Sindoor 1.0. And clearly in this case, feeling the heat, feeling the public pressure, now Pakistan has resorted to close its airspace for all kinds of air traffic as it tries to secure and tries to take stock of the damage caused by India's counter-strike.
All right, Group Captain Vinod, what do you make of this decision that's been taken? Is that a direct indication of the kind of damage that's been inflicted upon the 3 air bases?
Or could be a pressure from international civil aviation.
All right.
Which is quite a bit high. I mean, it does happen in IQ. Maybe IQ has weighed down on Pakistan to shut the airspace down, because in the hot war condition, if anything like, friendly fire happens either by Pakistan or us, then it will be a catastrophe. It could be an IQ. I don't know.
All right. If I could bring in Major General Sinha. Major General Sinha, what is your assessment of the thought that's gone behind shutting the airspace? Clearly, Pakistan is on tenterhooks.
Yeah, and I think we have able to expose the Pakistanis hypocritic, the step they have taken. If you remember the briefing at 5:30 by our two brave ladies, then she brought it out and she has shown the live streaming of the air traffic that time when the things were coming right from Karachi, going right up to Lahore. And that was, these things are also seen by the complete world. The idea is that time it exposed that they are trying in the shield of this air traffic they are doing something because the strikes were coming that time, all these drones which were sent to India and they had the air traffic on. Now two possibility. One thing is that first thing they want to hide. First thing they want to hide it from the public glare. After the 7th strike, the May strike, which was in the public glare, everyone has seen. Now only one eyewitness has been giving the live stream of Noor Khan Airbase, which we can see. But as far as Rafiki is concerned and Murid, we haven't got any live feed. I have not seen because it's not coming in our channel. The point is, Pakistan doesn't know how to, because it is so novice. Can you say, what Binod was bringing it out, that anyone who's in sense can say that you have fired your own missile in your own area. How you will do it, I do not know. So this is what the standard of Pakistan military. And if you allow me, then I will just try to quickly just bring out something for Stephanie, because
I have a map to go to, but I'm going to give you that time, sir. Go ahead.
It's very important. Foreign guest is there. Never, because it sees the mindset of what exactly the West is still trying to do it. See, Stephen, what you have brought it out. Basically, you have said that. Two nuclear armed countries, they're in conflict. If you don't talk, we have never stopped talking to them diplomatically. 2016, when we have taken the strategy that terror and talk will not go. Do you say that the Pakistan says okay, terror is stopped, and you have hit 9 places, all this terrorism, which they are making the statement. Why can't they we'll start talking to them. This is our pretext that terrorism and talk will not go together.
True.
So I have not seen any Western power is telling the Pakistan to give up the terrorism and just start talking. We have got a single terms of reference. Stop terror. We are ready to talk. We are ready to do all business with you. Even after that, our borders were open. Atari border, people were coming. How many Pakistanis were they getting visa? They were getting the treatment here. We never stopped. This is the first time it has happened. So it is very good to lecture, a country who are in a very, very, absolutely in operational condition. And second thing is, in the garb of nuclear bogey, if same thing the West is doing it, Russia has got nuclear. In this 35 NATO collision have got the nuclear. 100 of this gravity bombs are deployed all in Europe. That is not a nuclear standoff between the two.
Right.
And then you say that, just because Pakistan keeps threatening, India has not officially used a single nuclear in their own statement or anything which we are carrying out operationally in the ground.
Fair enough. I'm going to, in fact, bring Stephen in on that note as well. But I'm going to request you people to, in fact, pause on to those thoughts. Many thanks to you, Major General Sinha, for joining in. Thoroughly appreciate your insights. In fact, we're getting in some breaking inputs right now. Top government sources are telling CNN News 18 that Pakistan has lost major air assets. According to available information, after the attack, they could not even start their machines. That is the big breaking input that we are bringing to you. Remember, contrary to the claims that are being made by the DG ISPR, who's gone on to say that yes, 3 attacks at 3 air bases did take place, but there was not enough damage on any of their assets and that they remain safe. Government sources now coming up with that clarification to CNN News 18 that that's a lie which is being peddled. Ayushman sheds more light. Ayushman.
Absolutely. Pakistan has lost those major air assets. 3 crucial air bases have been decimated in this counter-strike coming in from India. And not just these 3 air bases, several key cities also facing the heat as India launches this counter-strike. Air-to-surface missiles, Akanksha, have been deployed by the Indian forces to punish Pakistan for its drone strikes which took place hours before India launched those air-to-surface missiles. We saw that how the entire border got lit up by Pakistan when it launched those drone strikes. But everything was intercepted by India's superior air defense system, our S-400s, our Akash systems. But India used its own air-to-surface arsenal and assets and has wreaked havoc inside Pakistan. 3 major air bases have now been neutralized by Pakistan, by the Indian forces in Pakistan, and top government sources indicating that their air assets have been severely compromised. Let's get you an overview of where all India has struck, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to this counter-offensive, which many people are calling Operation Sindoor 2.0. Islamabad, the Noor Khan Airbase, one of the key air bases in the military headquarters of Pakistan, that is Rawalpindi. Then is the Murid Airbase in Chakwal, right next to Rawalpindi, another key air asset that Pakistan controls. These right next to the border with India, crucial for Pakistan's air operations when it comes to taking on India. Then Shekhupura also targeted in these strikes, these air-to-surface missiles that India has been able to launch on Pakistan. Then is the Rafiki Air Base in Shorkot that has also been neutralized by this attack coming in from India using air-to-surface missiles. India wreaking havoc on Pakistan, taking revenge for what it did earlier today when it came to lighting up the border and taking on all those different cities along the border. Each and every missile that was launched by Pakistan, each and every drone was neutralized by air defense system. But this is what Pakistan has to reap when it comes to what it sowed earlier today. Islamabad, the Noor Khan Air Base, the Murid Air Base, Shekhupura, Rafiki Air Base, neutralized pretty much when it comes to the air assets that they control, and significant damage to Islamabad, to Rawalpindi, as well as Lahore, as well as Narwal, crucial areas near the line of control and the international border, because a lot of firing is taking place from the Indian side and we've been able to dismantle several Pakistani posts over here. So the commercial capital of Pakistan, the military capital of Pakistan, the political capital of Pakistan feeling the heat of India's counter-strike. Akanksha.
That's a very significant, I think that's a very significant point that you've made. Ayushman, if I may just request my team to go back to that map. Team, if you could please switch back to that map. I want to keep the focus on that map as far as those locations that have been targeted by India are concerned. As Ayushman was rightly highlighting, Stephen, take a moment to reflect on all of these locations. As Ayushman highlighted, you're looking at the commercial capital, you're also looking at some very critical military installations, the air bases, you're looking at the national capital, which is Islamabad. What do you make of these attacks that have taken place in the interim of 9th to 10th May?
They strike me as major attacks. They may well have been effective in decimating significant parts of Pakistan's Air Force and maybe other forces. Just to return to an earlier aspect of the discussion, I don't mean to lecture, and I'm just stating my opinion here.
Right, sure.
But it's, as I've said, one way or another, directly or indirectly, formally or informally, unless this thing were to keep escalating forever, there will need to be some discussions. Now, I suppose there's an outside chance Pakistan will simply throw up its hands without saying anything to India, give up without saying anything to India or the world, tell its people that somehow it accomplished its goals in this back and forth by overstating vastly what it accomplished through its own military actions. There's a possibility that that's the route it will go, but there are many, many other scenarios in which the two governments, one way or another, will need to talk to each other, even if it's just a matter of Pakistan trying to save face by saying it negotiated or reached some kind of a halt to these hostilities with India. And the alternative is, as I've said, very, very dangerous. It's not just a matter of two governments deciding we may go nuclear. All sorts of things can go wrong when nuclear powers are at odds. Just to pick an example from my own country's history, if not for the wisdom of a Russian colonel years ago, when mistakenly the radar in the Soviet air system indicated falsely a nuclear attack on the way from the US. If that colonel hadn't shown the common sense of saying, no, there's something going wrong with our system here, I'm not going to declare this a nuclear attack. If not for his wisdom, the US and the Soviet Union can decimate each other. So things can go wrong even if neither government wants to escalate. When things are very, very tense, they can go wrong due to a miscalculation by a lower level officer, due to misreadings of radar or other technical information. And that's why it's important to keep avenues of communication open, even if they're not being used right now.
Okay. I'm going to now bring in Glenn Carl, who is a former CIA officer, joining me live on the broadcast. Glenn, very good to have you here on CNN News 18 today. We speak on a morning which is very optimistic for all Indians. There's a sense of pride for our Indian armed forces. A major victory at hand as India has struck back and struck hard at 3 air bases of Pakistan. If you can see my screen, all of those locations, one of them also being at the national capital of Pakistan. What do you make of all of these strikes that have taken place?
Well, as everyone knows, or is watching, this is the worst or most serious clash in decades. I think the reasons probably are the changed nature of the Pakistani government and officer corps, but also the changed nature of the leadership in India. India being more nationalist than in the past, and Pakistan being more Islamist. So that is alarming, and the pride that one can rightly feel in one's armed forces doesn't diminish the danger that I think is greater now than at any time for 25 years or more.
Right, but when we are saying that, India has reached a point where terrorism from Pakistan, and when we are talking about terrorism emanating from Pak soil, you're looking at not just those camps, you're looking at funding, you're looking at training. India has perhaps also had enough, and that is the messaging behind those attacks. I'd like your thoughts.
Well, one certainly would understand the sentiment of and wanting to put an end to the endless suffering that the terrorism causes and destabilization. But India is in a dilemma that any state faces confronting a terrorist threat, and in particular has a greater problem in that its neighbor is a dysfunctional government and society. So a conventional military response, whether it's from India or the United States, against a terrorist threat really never solves the problem. And were the war to become even worse and India to be victorious, as I imagine would be the case, that would probably invite greater problems yet, because certainly India doesn't want a state collapsed on its border rather than a troublesome one. So it's a terrible dilemma. What a state is to do about terrorism. The only solution is unsatisfying because it takes many years and should happen out of sight by intelligence services countering and trying to disrupt and break up terrorist cells and organizations, and a longer term, much larger effort to somehow change the conditions that lead to the terrorism.
Okay.
And no state has succeeded in doing that.
Okay, I have some fresh updates coming in, and let me quickly go back to Ayushman, who continues to stay with us. In fact, we're getting in some breaking inputs as we speak, and some big ones. As what we are learning is that multiple drones have also been hovering over Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Sialkot, Lahore and Peshawar. What is it that you are bringing to us, Ayushman?
Absolutely. That is information coming to us from our investigations editor, Manoj Gupta. Akanksha, it seems Operation Sindoor 2.0 is not over yet. And now what we are learning is that, as you were pointing out, multiple drones are still hovering over Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Sialkot, Lahore and Peshawar. The crucial cities in Pakistan and also crucial areas where a lot of terror operations have also emanated from, namely Sialkot and Peshawar. And now what we are learning is that multiple drones are still hovering over Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Sialkot, Lahore and Peshawar. This is what top intelligence sources are telling CNN News 18, that Operation Sindoor 2.0 seems to be far from over as we are hitting the morning. Now what we are learning is that multiple drones are hovering over Islamabad, Rawalpindi, Sialkot, Lahore and Peshawar. So what is the road ahead when it comes to these drones which are hovering over these crucial cities after so much damage has been done by the Indian forces with the launch of the air-to-surface missiles? We'll have to wait and see how that plays out, but it seems the operation is still not over.
Absolutely not. Let me actually take that question with Major Manik Jolly also, who continues to stay with us. Major Manik Jolly, it seems like this is going to be a long night for Pakistan.
Yeah, it does seem like that, because I was just reading, there's a platform called Bolan News, and they're saying just 20 minutes back, another suspected Indian missile strike has been reported near Kahuta, a high security area close to Rawalpindi. So this was famous because AQ Khan Research Labs, which were critical for the R&D, they are in this area. So what is happening is, I think what we are getting reports right now is the air bases, but there's quite a possibility that Indian missiles have been targeting other locations also, and it didn't happen in one phase, because missile attacks can be actually phased. So maybe we are looking at second, third phase also. So we don't know how long the night is going to be, and so it's going to be a tough night for Pakistan, that's for sure.
All right. And in fact, that also means that we are going to be on high alert. What will this, Major Manik, mean for us Indians in the border states, especially if we were to look at Jammu, Punjab and of course even Rajasthan?
Well, definitely high alert, because as the things start to scale up, the kind of operations that countries carry out at successive stages of warfare, they tend to define how serious a country is, how much are they getting for, sucked up into the war. Till now, like Pakistan was doing drone warfare, probing and sending small drones, these Turkish drones, and trying to hit installation, trying to cause some damage. They fired some missiles. But given the kind of retaliation India has given, and a strong one, and most importantly a justified one, Pakistan has a tendency to take stupid decisions. Like somebody mentioned in debate today, and you were also saying, we gave them enough chance to not escalate this. We had hit their terror camps, they should have just left it at that. So now also they have the capability of not taking it up, and they have the choice to do that. But I hope they take that choice and do not escalate it further, because it's just going to keep getting worse for them as the days go. So in that desperation, if they take the other call, that we are going to prove something to our people, to ourselves, without realizing the military capability they are dealing with, in their failed sense of pride and all that, they could go for more missile strikes, they could go for air raids, they could go for these standoff air raids, throwing in missiles, they could try and sneak in more terrorists. There's a lot they can do, and the worst part for border areas is that these are the places that will get affected most, because deep inside India is a huge country, and to get into the depth of it requires a lot of capability from Pakistan's side, which they don't have actually. So people have to follow. I think the best thing they can do is follow government instructions. If you are asked for a blackout,
Right.
do that, stay inside, and just follow whatever advice comes to you officially.
Well, absolutely. I want to bring in Stephen on that note. Stephen, we also speak on a day when the IMF has decided to go ahead with that additional funding of over $1 billion for Pakistan. So when one is to weigh in on the role that the international community can play, especially the role that these global lending institutions like the International Monetary Fund could have played, one has been also probing the history of Pakistan's reliance on the IMF. What do you make of how Pakistan continues unabated to divert that funding clearly into terror training?
Well, I don't know if they're directing that funding, if they're targeting that funding for terror training. I think that seems to me to be a few steps too far in terms of where
no,
the
but
money
India
is
has
going.
presented evidence. India has presented evidence. The fact that the military is playing a very significant role when it comes to crucial economic calls for the country. That is something that India has also presented in its statement at the IMF today. And clearly, a debt-ridden country can't be, harboring terrorism to this extent if their economy is in tatters. So there's certainly some amount of funding which is coming to sponsor that kind of terrorism, right?
Well, I'm certainly not, please understand, I'm certainly not defending any support for terrorism, but nor am I actually a huge fan of the IMF. But the IMF provides support to all sorts of countries, loans to all sorts of countries that commit human rights abuses, that tolerate terrorism, that may even back terrorism, that do all sorts of dastardly things that allow or perpetuate the mistreatment of women, all sorts that commit crimes against other countries. So I'm not justifying any of that, but I don't think Pakistan is alone by any means in terms of receiving IMF support under these circumstances. And I think even if the IMF were to have snapped its fingers and said, we're not going through with this loan, Pakistan's stance towards terrorism would have remained the same. I don't think it hinges on IMF support for other parts of its apparatus. If I may, just one other aspect of what you asked I wanted to address echoes Glenn's point to some extent, in that you are dealing with a very dysfunctional polity in terms of Pakistan, in terms of the military really substantially controlling the government, setting policy, at the same time that it's in some ways ripping off the country through its own businesses, diversion of resources, and the like. And that adds another twist to all this, another complication that makes it even harder to address how dysfunctional the Pakistan government is, not just to the detriment of India in terms of possible support for terrorism or likely support for terrorism, but even more so to the detriment of its own people and the suffering that they've undergone and the lack of relative economic progress that country has experienced over the decades.
Well, absolutely. And those decades have borne testimony to how it is impossible for any civilian government to function as long as the upper hand remains with the army and the deep state. I'm going to request you, Stephen and Glenn, to continue staying with us. Major Manik also stays with us, but in fact getting in some more breaking inputs coming in. Now what we are learning from government sources is that after India struck Pakistan, all major cities in India have now been put on high alert, and this is a decision on expected lines. Ayushman Jamwal joins me live from the newsroom with those breaking inputs. Ayushman,
Kausha, that's the latest update that is coming in. Remember, India has now set the doctrine of custom match attacks to give a befitting reply to Pakistan. So in the avenue of the fact that Pakistan could launch another counter-strike, all major Indian cities are currently on high alert. The entire defense infrastructure is on high alert. Also, the air defense systems have been activated across the border to ensure that any misadventure from Pakistan is met with a swift response. So because India, by targeting 3 Pakistani air bases, by hitting the heart of Pakistan, Islamabad, Lahore, Rawalpindi, Now, in the fear of a counter-attack, India is ready to face anything that Pakistan throws at it, and all major cities are currently on high alert with the entire defense apparatus now activated.
I want to bring in Major Manoj on that. Major Manoj, what is your response now to the fear of escalation? Everybody is talking about it. We heard Glenn, we heard Stephen, and that's perhaps a valid concern now. But I guess India is prepared.
Yeah, we are prepared, obviously, and we are very, this is on expected lines, as you said. I just want to take a moment to reply to what Mr. Stephen said, especially on the fact he has a certain stand on the whole thing. But what I wanted to comment on what he's saying, that irrespective of we give them IMF funding or not, like IMF gives them funding or not, Pakistan's stand on terrorism is not going to change. So here's what I have to say is that you cannot say that a country which has ample resources and some kind of intentions, that logically would want to pursue it and can pursue it successfully. Secondly, you have never denied them funding to know that will they actually stop terrorism if we stop giving them money? Will they use it? And it is a known thing that the infrastructure, the health services, education, everything is defunct in Pakistan. The generals are exceptionally corrupt. The politicians take all the money. They all settle abroad in US, UK, Europe, Canada, and all that. You know that they take the money, but just because they've been doing the bidding for US since 80s, since the time Russian came in, you have refused to comment on the terror. You knew the terror factories are there. You knew where the training camps were established. You knew when Al Qaeda was formed. So you cannot say that if we don't give them money, they might not change. You never gave this possibility a chance to even experiment with that thought. Today, when you know that India is in such a critical state with Pakistan, and this is now a time to maybe corner them. Fine, I don't say militarily or just kill them all. But the point is, there could have been a spot where the world could have cornered them. Then when will you stop? America found Osama bin Laden hiding in Pakistan after 10 years of carrying out joint operations. What more proofs do you need that they don't care what you think, because they know they'll get your money? So you should have given, the IMF should have given this a chance this time, that we could have cornered them, that we will not support you till the time you mend your ways. But you lost the chance again this time, and it will continue to be the same story, that everybody thinks, oh, they are going to be like this, we give them money or not, so let's give them some more. That's not I don't think that's the right way to go. Anyway, coming on the, what originally Akanksha asked, that the high alert in all the cities is as expected on the lines, because the thing is, one, war is a brutal business. While we are celebrating all our successes, there is a possibility an odd missile might make it through and land on our cities also. Pakistan has been hitting our civil areas by drone and artillery since past almost a week now. So everybody has to be ready for that contingency. It's good to shout that go war, fight, kill everybody, but I mean, there's a possibility that we also might get hurt at some stage. Hence, it's a good decision for government to issue this alert right now.
Okay.
And along with it, the civil administration comes into action and they will issue necessary directions to everyone.
Okay, stay with me. Going to request all of you gentlemen to continue staying with me. Also joined in by Sushant Sarin, who's a senior fellow at the ORF. Sushant, what a morning to wake up to. India's made some massive strategic victories today when it came to, in fact, reducing those 3 air bases to rubble. And we've not just targeted Pakistan's commercial capital, you're looking at the national capital as well. I'd like your thoughts.
Akansha, you are being very presumptive that you thought people went off to sleep last night. I tried to, but within half an hour, I was so restless that I got up, and then I would imagine that...
You should have joined in much earlier then. I'm going to hold this against you.
Yeah, but the thing is that I just came to the thought that if Kargil was the first television war in India, this conflict is the first. I can't call it a war as yet, but this is the first Twitter or X war in this part of the world. But look, something was being expected because yesterday, when the Pakistanis had attacked, and they've been attacking us, this is the third night that they attacked us. On the second night after they attacked us, we had the press conference yesterday by the Foreign Secretary, and I would have thought that the Foreign Secretary had given them an off ramp because he spoke in very measured tones as he normally does. But he said that the Pakistanis had carried out these attacks, and the Indians, we retaliated in 4 places. He didn't say what the scale of retaliation was, but the way he said it, it was that, okay, fine, we've done it. We are not making a big song and dance about it. We are not gloating about it. We are not making a big deal out of it. And this can become an off ramp for both sides. And that is the impression I got when I was in the evening when I was on your channel. This is exactly what my impression was. And I think Major Jolly was there at that time, if I'm mistaken, not. And my impression was that, we've said, okay, fine, let's take this off ramp. But clearly the Pakistanis have this habit of biting off a lot more than they can chew. And they thought that, obviously some damage must have been done. And just because their attacks have not been successful over the last 3 days, that does not give them a free pass. And the thing is that, so quite clearly, I think the message from the Indian side was that if they are now going to start continuing doing this, then we will also hit back and hit back hard. And I think that is what has happened tonight. A lot of these rumors were actually doing the rounds yesterday, but apparently it's happened today. So I think now we are in a completely different situation because the kind of retaliation India has done, it's very clear that the Pakistanis are going to try and hit back. How will they hit back? The reports, which if we can make some sense out of them, there is that they are going to use their air power and they're going to try and strike at targets inside India. And we'd have to see how the rest of the air defenses, which have performed exceedingly well against drone attacks, how they perform against the Pakistani fighting. Number one.
All right, finish the point because I have some breaking inputs coming in.
Number two, are they going to start the use of ballistic missiles? Because then we will also go up. Because so far we have not used any ballistic missile. At least there is no report of that. Even the Pakistanis are saying that all the attacks that we've done is from air to ground missiles.
Yes.
These are fighters and which have been used. And so if the Pakistanis are now going to scale up, then I think the response from the Indian side will be similar.
All right. I'm afraid I'll have to interrupt you there, Sushant, because we have some big breaking inputs coming in. After 3 air bases, India has now hit at the Sukar Airport in Sindh. This is another massive blast in Rawalpindi that has taken place. We can officially confirm this through sources that have shared information with Network 18's Security Affairs Editor, Mr. Manoj Gupta. Big breaking input coming in. A 4th blast now as India has hit the Sukar Airport in Sindh. As I must tell you that this is a domestic airport, also known as the Begum Nusrat Bhutto Airport. In fact, Ayushman joins me with more breaking information on that. Ayushman, what more details can you share with us?
Absolutely, Akanksha. As we've been tracking all these sites that have been targeted by the air-to-surface missiles coming in from the Indian forces, more information coming in where Rawalpindi has now seen another blast. This is what top sources are telling CNN News 18. Information brought to us by our securities editor Manoj Gupta. Also, as you were pointing out, the Sukar Airport in the Sindh area also now being targeted by these air-to-surface missiles as India unleashes on these particular sites in Pakistan in retaliation to Pakistan's drone attacks along the international border as well as the LOC. So we can just add it to the list of the attacks which are coming in. The Sukar Airport has been targeted in Sindh. In Rawalpindi there is another blast, and as we were reporting earlier, Islamabad, the Noor Khan Airbase, the Murid Airbase, Shekhpura, the Rafiki Airbase, Narowal and Lahore also being targeted by the Indian forces. Air-to-surface missiles deployed when it comes to this offensive coming in from India.
Absolutely. I want to go back to Sushant. In fact, Sushant, before I come to you, let me bring in Major Jolly, who continues to stay with us. Major Jolly, 3 air bases and now a domestic airport. What do you make of the kind of strategic edge that India has displayed today?
It is fantastic. Actually, this is how it should be. If you're fighting a war, it's not a, exchange of niceties. You are not expected to I mean, it is what India is doing. You take out their bases. Then I just read somewhere that maybe a air battle is fine. This can be all misinformation, but taking out why they are taking out the other airport is because the moment wars happen, there are some airports which can act as a dual capability, civil as well as military. So if obviously the planners, I won't get into detail of that. The planners have decided that we are going to demolish or even mitigate any possibility of aircrafts taking off of this region, because whatever their bigger plan is. But we hold superiority. That's the point to note here. The kind of superiority that the word is enjoys actually. India enjoys right now that absolutely no air defense. India is striking when and wherever we want. This looks like a World War II kind of a setup when the smaller countries didn't have air defense and you could go and send missiles everywhere. So this is fantastic position to be in.
I want to quickly bring in Glenn on that note. Glenn, what is your assessment of the way India has hit out at the air bases? Now this domestic airport, what does it speak of not just our defense, but also our offensive capabilities and the defense preparedness so far?
Well, so far, it appears that India's modernization program of recent years has been bearing fruit. We have all been reading that it's only in the mid-process and that India was far from having really modernized doctrine, training, and equipment, but at present, it's an impressive performance. I can comment more substantively on the policy implications or objectives. India seems to me to have clear objectives that it's trying to achieve. One, obviously, to stop terrorism. These conventional attacks won't do that, but as a response to a terrorist act, they're completely understandable. And then two is to make the point and then stop having made the point. That's clear and sensible. Pakistan's objectives seem to me a lot murkier or incoherent. One could understand a response for pride and national sovereignty, but as one of the gentlemen said, it seemed clear also that India has been providing the off-ramps that one wants to in this sort of response. And Pakistan is not taking them, and I see nothing positive that Pakistan can achieve out of all of this.
Stephen, I want to bring you in quickly about the way the Indian government has in fact put this out. They've said that these are going to be custom match attacks because remember just a day ago our own military installations, whether Udhampur or Pathankot, all of them were attacked. So this is indeed a custom match attack.
Well, you may see it that way. I may see it that way. Pakistan probably doesn't and see it that way. Or even if it does, I get back to the notion of the leadership there saving face. That being their possible imperative here in what generally is, I agree with Glenn, kind of a chaotic handling of this whole confrontation. And we shouldn't underestimate the extent to which they may be wanting to save face as this matter unfolds. The fact that India is now on high alert for return attacks means that I would think the Indian government is assessing that Pakistan might very possibly strike back. What does India do next? That's a good question if that happens. And I've said this before, but I hope that one way or another, a way is found to de-escalate this, maybe mediation by a third party. But we don't want this to get to a point where Pakistan sees no alternative to saving face other than using its ultimate nuclear weapons. Again, I don't think it'll come to that for all sorts of reasons, but we are in very, very dangerous territory now by virtue of that as even a small possibility.
Right, Stephen Golub, thank you very much for joining us. If you're joining us early this morning, it's been a night of attacks and counterattacks. There's been a major escalation in the last few hours. It started with Pakistan trying to send ballistic missiles. That is a major step from these drones that they were sending for the last couple of nights. A major escalation by Pakistan trying to send ballistic missiles to at least 6 different places, all of which has been successfully intercepted. India, in return, has attacked multiple places in Pakistan. The latest that we're hearing is that the Sukar Airbase in Sindh has been attacked. The Noor Khan Ali base in Punjab has also been attacked. So there are multiple locations where this is being attacked by surface-to-air missiles. Pakistan, in response, has now closed its airspace up until noon today, which means this is where India is hit. It is hit close to Islamabad. It has hit the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi, in Sheikhpura, in Chakwal, which is the Murid Air Base, also in Narowal, the Rafiki Air Base in Shorkot. So you have about 6 or 7 places where India is hit with surface-to-air missiles in what is clearly now the next rung of escalation. We're given to understand that Pakistan is scrambling its jets in response. We don't know what the nature of Pakistan's response is going to be, but this has been a major escalation after Pakistan managed to get that $1 billion tranche of the IMF loan, as well as, of course, after the visit of the Deputy Foreign Minister of Saudi Arabia to Islamabad. So I think somewhere the calculation now by both sides is that they're now climbing into the next step of the escalation ladder. What happens in the next few hours, we don't know. There is some kind of a response coming from Pakistan. India is, of course, 100% prepared for it. In about 20 minutes time, I'm given to understand, there will be a briefing in South Block by senior officials of the Defence Forces. We will bring you up to speed as and when we know who is addressing the media. Clearly, it's been a night of major escalation from Lahore to Sindh, Rawalpindi. Multiple air bases have been targeted by India. There's also, by the way, drones that have been hanging around major cities, including Lahore, Islamabad and Rawalpindi. In Haryana, over the skies over Sirsa, we're given to understand that the Fatah 2, the missile that Pakistan had launched, has been intercepted. So major escalation. There was an attempt by Pakistan to hit the Jammu Air Force Station as well. That too has been intercepted by India's air defenses. So from Lahore to Sindh, India is matching Pakistan tit for tat in what has been a major escalation by both sides. Pakistan, of course, deciding to climb that escalatory ladder after the decision of the International Monetary Fund to give it the $1 billion tranche of its loan, as well as, of course, after the visit of the Saudi foreign minister. Now, Pakistan seems to have made a calculation that they want to up the ante. We're getting more breaking news. This is again a bid by Pakistan to try and escalate the attack. The bid has been thwarted. Pakistan tried to attack the Jammu Air Force Station. Remember, Jammu has been in the target for the last 2 or 3 nights now. Remember the drone attacks that happened a couple of nights ago. It started with an attack on the Jammu airport. Now the Jammu Air Force Station was tried to be attacked by Pakistan using some form of missile. We're not sure what nature of missile they tried to use, but that attack, that attempt by Pakistan has been intercepted by India's air defense. So major escalation that has now been thwarted. Also earlier this morning, an attempt was made over Hisar in Haryana. That too has been thwarted by the Indian Defence Forces. Let me try and see if we can go across to Akash first, our defence reporter. Akash, just paint the night for us. Where all has Pakistan tried to attack us, and where all has India responded to this Pakistani escalation?
Right. So it started late in the evening yesterday. In fact, we saw that the ceasefire violations from evening, but then the drone attacks and also the missile came at around 8 p.m. And again, starting from Jammu and Samba, we saw the initial reports and in fact the confirmation that how drones have been coming, but all of these were thwarted. But this time around, Indian authorities and in fact the agencies, retaliated, and a strong retaliation was there. Noor Khan Airbase, that is in Rawalpindi, Shorkot Airbase, that is in Punjab, that have their JF-17 squadron, and Murid Airbase, that is again in Punjab. We have been told that these airbases have been hit, and in fact the assets, their air assets, including the air defense system, has been hit by Indian forces. We have seen the DGI SPR confirmation as well, though we will wait for the official confirmation from the Indian Armed Forces, Zaka. But at this point in time, while we are talking, in fact in Jammu, we have been hearing a lot of AD gun sounds, and possibly there was an attempt to destroy some sort of asset or the infrastructure in Air Force station here in Jammu, but it has been thwarted. Our air defense is very much working. AD gun is importantly playing a major role this time around, because we have upgraded and in fact incorporated the counter drone technologies in our AD gun systems. So at this point in time, while it is about Jammu, it's the early morning hours, and in fact just a while back we were hearing the air sirens, in fact Zaka, but we have been told that the attempt has been thwarted. In fact a missile was launched towards Delhi as well. This is what we are learning. In fact, Manoj Gupta is bringing us this input, where a missile was launched towards Delhi, but it has been intercepted in Sirsa, and in fact the attempt to attack Delhi has been thwarted, Zaka.
All right, so that was the Fatah-2 missile that Pakistan tried to launch to Delhi. It's been intercepted in the skies over Sirsa. Let's try and bring you up to speed with the counter-offensive that India has launched. It's been a very hot night between India and Pakistan. India has launched multiple missile as well as drone strikes, starting from Islamabad in the north, Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. It's one of the largest air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. That has been hit. The Murid Air Base in Chakwal, again a substantially big air base of the Pakistan Air Force in Murid in Chakwal. That has also been hit. In Sheikhpura, a third air base in Rafiki, which is in Shorkat, which is further south. All of these are in Punjab, in the very heart of Pakistan, as it were, in Shorkat. The Rafiki Air Base of the Pakistan Air Force has also been hit. And we have one more, the Sukar Airport in Sindh. So Punjab and Sindh, which are the two biggest provinces in Pakistan, have been hit. Also in Narowal and Lahore, but these I think are smaller drone attacks. But India has also replied with ballistic missile attacks in response to what Pakistan tried to do. It launched the Fatah-2 directed at Delhi, but it was intercepted at the skies over Haryana. Let's try and go across to more reporters. Aishman is also joining us from our newsroom. So Aishman, can you bring us up to speed with the places where Pakistan tried to attack overnight and India's air defense systems have intercepted and brought down these Pakistani missiles?
Absolutely, Zaka. We've been tracking through the night the attacks that have been coming in from the Pakistani forces. We saw how they lit up the entire border area all the way from the north in Kupwara, in Uri, where the ceasefire violations were taking place. Then we saw the drone strikes which were taking place in the Jammu area, all the way down to Bhuj. There were several attacks coming in from the Pakistan side, several drone strikes which were coming in from the Pakistan side, which were intercepted by India's advanced air defense system. And that is the latest update that we are getting from our investigations editor Manoj Gupta, who's also looking at every aspect of the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan, where the Fateh-2 missile that has been launched by Pakistan towards Delhi was intercepted at Sirsa. So India's air defense systems continue to be robust, countering any offensive coming in from Pakistan. Pakistan tried those offensives when it came to targeting the military as well as certain civilian areas along the line of control and the international border, all the way from Jammu and Kashmir down to Rajasthan, even to Bhuj in near the Gujarat area. But clearly the air defense system was deterring all those attacks. But the tensions continue to escalate between the two sides because Pakistan is now priming its counter-offensive.
All right, Aishman, we'll leave it at that. I think the big news that we have is that it's been a hot night between India and Pakistan over the last 4 or 5 hours. The escalation started by Pakistan right after its announcement that the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, has approved a tranche of $1 billion for Pakistan as part of a $7 billion package that was agreed to a few years ago. The big development is that India has hit multiple air bases of Pakistan from Punjab to Sindh. Pakistan has tried to send ballistic missiles. One of them, the Fatah 2, which is a medium-range ballistic missile with a range of about 400 kilometers, tried to, or at least sent in the direction of New Delhi, which is the national capital, but got intercepted, I'm given to understand, by the Barak air defense missile, the surface-to-air missile. It has been intercepted there, and it has been brought down in the skies over Sirsa in Haryana. Let me go across to our guests in what is, I'm afraid, a very, very serious escalation over the last 4 or 5 hours. Lieutenant General retired Sanjay Kulkarni is joining us, former DG of Infantry. Sarin, Senior Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, is with us. Glenn Carl, former CIA officer, is also with us. Let me start with you, Lieutenant General. What do you make of this sudden and serious escalation by Pakistan? India, of course, responding measure for measure. Do you reckon now we are in the next rung, as it were, of the escalation ladder? We've now climbed to the second rung. Now both countries are sending ballistic missiles at each other.
Good morning, Zaka. Good morning to my fellow panelists. Definitely, I think in the escalating ladder, we've gone a notch higher, because on the 8th, we had, the Pakis fire about 400 odd missiles and drones towards India. All of them, of course, neutralized. Well, yes, last night also almost similar, when we saw at around 9ish, when things started off from Pakistan side. Most of the targets again from, like on the 8th, it was from, we could say from Leh to Sir Creek. Yesterday night, it was almost closer to that. Most of our airfields and some of the towns in and around the airfields were having, they were trying to strike them. Jammu primarily was one. But then what I hear from what you are saying, that at night they attempted to strike Delhi with Hatab 2 and being intercepted at Sirsa. Obviously now it required to go up the escalation ladder, because so far we've been attempting to keep everything restrained, well, non-escalatory, but it's time now. There's no more restraint and no more non-escalatory. Not, I wouldn't even call it tit for tat, just give it back, and give it back in measures that Pakistan realizes it, that it's too much. You can't be doing it. I think Pakistan doesn't seem to realize, and we have to hit at the source of terror. And the source of terror is the Pakistan army. We have to make sure that all assets of the Pakistan army have to be hit, and none better than where it hurts the most. And this, the airfield was one, the nerve center, Rawalpindi, yet another one which needs to be hit, so that the Pakistanis realize it, that if they try and go up the escalator ladder, because we attempted to hit the locations of the terrorists. There was 9 locations for those 25 minutes and 24 missiles, and that was, we thought the Operation Sindoor was all over. But unlike that, when they struck India, it was they struck India. And therefore, when they struck India, now they get it back. Even for the first 2 nights, I thought we were quite patient. We ought not to have been so patient. But notwithstanding that, since it's all over, we tried to show our patience. But now, obviously, the patience run out, and Pakistan needs to be paid back, not in the same coin, much higher. And now the time has come.
So there are at least 3 Pakistani Air Force air bases that India has hit, including the Noor Khan Air Base, one of the biggest in Pakistan. So Sarin, what do you make of what's been going on over these last 4-5 hours? Is this now definitely both sides climbing up the escalation ladder? The attempt by Pakistan to try and send a missile to Delhi, that is a serious escalation. How do you think that is being viewed in New Delhi? We believe there's going to be a briefing by the armed forces in the next few minutes, but what's your assessment?
Zaka, I would imagine that the Pakistani attempt to fire a missile at Delhi would have really, let's say, would have lifted some of the restraints that the Indians have been putting on themselves over the last 2 days. For 2 nights, we've been having these kind of attacks taking place, and the Indian response has been very, very carefully calibrated. So if the Pakistanis were sending in drones and some light missiles, the Indians were responding similarly. The only difference between the 2 sides was that the Indian retaliation to Pakistani attacks was a little more successful than what the Pakistanis were attempting to do. The same thing happened last night. And then tonight, I think the Pakistanis really tried to up the ante. First, they tried to attack Jammu and another 26 places, and then they launched these missiles at Delhi. And I imagine that that preposterous and ridiculous statement of their DG ISPR, who's the son of an internationally designated terrorist, incidentally. His father is an internationally proscribed UN designated terrorist, right? For his association with Osama bin Laden. That guy is the DG ISPR. Now, he says that 6 missiles were launched from Adampur, 5 of them on Amritsar and 1 on Adampur itself. So from Adampur, we launched a missile in Adampur and 1 in Amritsar, say 5 in Amritsar, to kill 6. How stupid can he be? But he is. So clearly, I think from the Indian point of view, there has been this messaging going across that, listen, we are giving you off-ramps, take them. If you're not going to take them, then we are going to hit you back. Now, I would say that we haven't really gone up the escalation ladder. Because look at it this way, the Pakistanis have been trying to hit our air bases. They've been trying to hit Pathankot. They've been trying to hit Avantipura. They've been trying to hit Amritsar. They've tried to hit a number of other Adampur and other air bases, right? So it's not that they've not tried to hit our air bases, just they've not been successful. So what have we done? We have also hit their air bases. We've used drones, and I'm now going by Pakistani accounts because we still don't have any Indian official accounts. The Pakistanis have claimed that the attacks on some of their air bases were from air to surface, which means that it were Indian aircraft which were firing those missiles from the air. And that is something which has been done in the past as well. So it is not in that sense a very significant escalation. We haven't as yet used ballistic missiles, surface to surface missiles. So we have also kept under a certain threshold so far. Just that our attacks have been a lot more successful, okay? And theirs have failed. Now, you cannot launch an assault on me and then claim the failure of your assault as a virtue and play victim. I'm sorry, that does not work. You launched an attack, it failed. I now am launching a counter attack, which seems to have gone down fairly well. But let's not kid ourselves. We are now going to be climbing up the escalation ladder because the Pakistanis are going to try and come back at us with full force. And let's see, the next few hours, maybe this day will be a very critical day. Let's also not kid ourselves, Zaka, and I think we should be prepared. Our people should be prepared that there will be things which will get through our defenses. There will be casualties, there will be damage, there will be loss. And we should man up and take it all.
Okay.
And then go and take some more.
Yeah, I just want to bring in a word. A word that top government sources have told our investigations editor Manoj Gupta. We can break that as well. This is a message, and I guess this will be a message that will be conveyed by the defense folks who will be briefing the media, I believe, at 5:45 on the south lawns of the South Block. This is what top government sources have told Manoj Gupta, that Pakistan should try and understand that all that India is doing is commitment to a proportionate response and that they should stop now. Pakistan should stop now. Otherwise, the next time India will have to be forced to climb the escalation ladder. So Pakistan needs to get the message and needs to stop now. It needs to stop sending all of these ballistic missiles. The Fatah 2 was attempted to hit Delhi, but it got intercepted in the skies over Haryana. Let me also try and go back to our reporters before I go back to the guests. Look, over the last 6 hours or so, there has been an attempt by Pakistan through drones, through ballistic missiles, to try and hit India at multiple places, multiple air stations. Let's try and go full frame to that. Multiple air stations have been targeted in Jammu. Jammu Airbase particularly seems to be one area where the Pakistanis have been trying for the last 3 nights to try and cause some damage. We've had drone attacks last night in Srinagar. We've also had an attempt to try and take down the Avantipura airbase, also in Amritsar, the airbase there, as well as, of course, the airbase that we have in Haryana. But in response, India has attacked at least 3 airbases. 2 of them are major airbases for Pakistan. The Noor Khan airbase in Rawalpindi, one of the biggest that Pakistan has. The Murid airbase in Chakwal, which is also nearby. Both of these, of course, are right in the heart of Punjab. Then there is the Rafiki airbase, a smaller one in Shorkot in southern Punjab. And then the Sukar Airport, which is used both for civilian and defense purposes in Sindh. So both in Punjab and in Sindh, there have been major attacks by the Indian armed forces. We're given to understand that at least some of these have been surface-to-air missiles, and some of these have been air-to-surface missiles, so they've been launched from a fighter jet. We'll try and get further information of that, but this is how it is looking right now. If Akash and let's get a sense of who are the other reporters that we have on the ground. We'll go across to Akash in just a moment, but it has been a night of heavy exchange of fire, drones and missiles between India and Pakistan. Pakistan climbing up the escalation ladder in a dramatic sort of upping of the ante, as it were, soon after the announcement by the International Monetary Fund of a tranche of $1 billion to Pakistan as part of an agreed-upon package of $7 billion over a period of 3 or 4 years. Now Pakistan tried to send a ballistic missile towards India, intercepted in the skies over Sirsa in Haryana. It was directed at Delhi. Imagine if that missile had been successful and there was damage here in Delhi. That would have been a serious escalation of the situation between India and Pakistan, as it were. It seems to be that the Pakistani military leadership is being given a very solid and definitive message by the Indian military leadership. Back off now. Do not escalate. There you go. I want to once again bring you up to speed. So the smaller blasts that you're seeing on the map, Islamabad, Narowal, Lahore, these are all drone attacks that India has managed to pierce the Pakistani air defense and hit some of these places, including Sheikhpura, etc. But the airbase attacks that have been hit, those are missiles. Those are medium-range missiles that India has used. Like I said, in response, matching Pakistani aggression, Pakistan trying even with their ballistic missiles to pierce India's air defenses and hit some key defense installations as well as civilian installations here in India. This is India's response, and India is also sending out a message to Pakistan: please refrain from climbing further up the escalation ladder. All right, let's try and play out some of those visuals. I believe we have visuals from the Noor Khan base that was struck by India's missiles. Let's try and play out that video, and I'll come back to our guests and our reporters.
और ये नूर खान बेस के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है। भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है। ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे, बिल्कुल घर के सामने। अभी एक जहाज गुजरा है और ये नूर खान बेस के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है। भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है। ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे, बिल्कुल घर के सामने। अभी एक जहाज गुजरा है और ये नूर खान बेस के ऊपर अटैक हुआ है। भाईजान नूर खान बेस में आके गिरा है। ये अटैक हुआ है नूर खान बेस पे।
Right, let me go across to Akash. Akash, just bring our viewers up to speed if they're just tuning in at 5:45 this morning. It's been a very hot night between India and Pakistan. Multiple locations in Pakistan have been hit, including at least 3 air bases. Pakistan has tried to dramatically escalate, go up the escalation ladder. Pakistan has tried to hit, among other places, even the national capital by launching a ballistic missile. It has been intercepted successfully by India's air defenses. It's been a night where they have tried drones as well as missiles. What are top defense sources telling you, Akash? What is going on in these last 4 or 5 hours?
Right, Zaka, first of all, in some time from now, we are going to have a press conference from the armed forces where we will be getting some sort of details of the sort of developments that have happened throughout the night. But at this point in time, in fact, in Jammu, we have been hearing multiple sounds, Zaka. We have been told that Air Force Station Jammu was on target. Initially, it was thwarted, but then, the sound is still on. We have been told that air defense guns are very much active. As far as, developments in the night are concerned, so we have been seeing major escalation from Pakistan, where after last evening, in fact day before yesterday and last evening too, they have tried drones and missiles through different in fact two different military stations here in India, military infrastructure. Jammu is one prime target where they have been, in fact, Zaka, you can hear the sounds as well, the air defense guns, where Jammu is on target, and again we are hearing these sounds where our sources are telling us that Air Force Station was on target, but it was thwarted. Something rocket propelled is being sent. It can be a missile, it can be a UAV as well. We have been told, and we know that how they are using SH-15 as well. But yes, SH-15, there is less possibility that it can come here, even when they are bringing it to that bulge near Akhnur. At this point in time, while we talk about other places, so we have been told that crucial military infrastructure is on target. Of course, we will not tell the location because of limitations, but they are targeting our crucial air assets. None of them till now is successful. They tried attacking Delhi as well, but it was thwarted. As far as Pakistan and its assets are concerned, Zaka, we have been told that Noor Khan Airbase, one of their important bases in Rawalpindi, very close to the headquarters, and in fact very close to the important infrastructure, was hit last night. Successful hit. In fact, their air assets were targeted, and military aircraft and transport aircraft both are there in the particular air base. We know that how they have the C-130 transport aircraft in that. They are operating some sort of drones from there. These facilities were hit by the Indian Armed Forces, including very high value target of the AD systems and radars. Shorkot Air Base, that is in Punjab, there we have a JF-17 of Pakistan. It was hit, and in fact Murid Air Base, very important Murid Air Base, they are operating their drones from Murid Air Base as well. It was hit. At this point in time, Zaka, they are trying multiple locations, not in Jammu and Kashmir, but in Haryana, in Punjab, in Rajasthan as well, and these attempts are being thwarted at this point in time. Air defense is very much active. We are still checking. We will be going with the reliable information only, and in some time from now, Zaka, armed forces are going to address the press conference, and meanwhile, we are hearing these constant sounds, possibly of the air defense guns, here in Jammu, because Jammu is on target, Zaka.
All right. Akash, any idea who in the Indian Army or the Defence Forces are going to be briefing? So far in these last 3 days, we've had the Foreign Secretary and the two young officers, the women officers from the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. But this seems to be somebody else. Any word you're picking up on who is going to be briefing, and why the need for this sudden early morning briefing? Because clearly things seem to have ratcheted up a couple of notches overnight in the last 4 or 5 hours.
We are assuming that someone from the IDS would be briefing. IDS Integrated Defence Staff. In fact, the coordinated command is there, and someone from IDS would be briefing, because these inputs will be of the Air Force, Indian Army, and the other forces as well. Also, we have been told that there can be a different level representation. Maybe someone from the MEA can also be a part. There is no clarity, but Zaka, as far as this briefing is concerned, so it was important, given the fact that there is a lot of narrative on social media where not just DG ISPR addressing the press conference is putting several sort of information that is not true from Indian side. We have their social media handles that are propagating some sort of narrative, and that's the reason why there was a need for this urgent press conference in the morning. Also because of the sort of operations that have happened throughout the night. We know that how Indian forces have retaliated to the aggression of Pakistan, where they have been trying to attack the military infrastructure here in India from last 2 days. Last night also, there were retaliation, there were operations, but India did not hit them.
Akash, I believe the briefing has begun. My colleague Arunima is telling us that if we can get either her, if we can get a live feed or a phone or an audio feed of the briefing, Let's try and go across to her if somebody can just put her through on the phone. Let's try and make sense of the story for our viewers. The briefing has begun by the Indian Army officials. We're not sure if this is on camera, if this is on record, or this is an off-record briefing, but certainly senior officials of the Indian Army are briefing on the lawns of South Block is what we're given to understand, to try and get a sense of what exactly is going on here. If we can please connect to Arunima. I've been asking for the last 5 minutes to our assignment desk. Please connect our reporters on the ground. Let's try and make sense of what the story is for our viewers who may be tuning in just now at 5:50 in the morning. It's been a very hot night between India and Pakistan. You can see those pictures. India has hit multiple locations in Pakistan, from Islamabad to Lahore to Rawalpindi. The Noor Khan Airbase in Rawalpindi, one of the biggest that Pakistan has been hit. Can we please put through some reporters to try and make sense of this story for our viewers? There is, of course, a briefing that is happening right now by top Indian Army officials in South Block, on the lawns of the South Block. They will be giving us an assessment of what is going on, what has been going on in these last 4 or 5 hours between India and Pakistan. So the attempt has now gone up a notch from drones. It is scaled up now to missiles. All right, let's go across to Anvit, who is on the phone line. Anvit, where are you and what are you hearing?
Hi, Zaka. Morning. We are in Jaisalmer, and they are observing a complete blackout. They had been shut all lights and vehicular movement from 6 p.m. till 6 p.m. in the morning, and even now vehicular movement has been restricted. What we are reporting, from where we are reporting, is 70 to 80 kilometers from the border, because the last village, that is Ramgarh, beyond that, army is not allowing any civilian movement or any any media movement as well. So we are reporting from here, but last to last night, even from here, we could clearly see the flares in the skies, and we could clearly see the ammunition coming in from Pakistan. But last night had been relatively peaceful. No visuals in the sky. Skies had been clear since last night. But yes, police have been making patrols, heavy patrols. In fact, we had also been hearing sirens, because on the forward areas yesterday, also in Jaisalmer and in Barmer, the sirens were being played out, as some drone sightings were also done. Following that, sirens have been played out, but so far as the ammunition is concerned, nothing has landed into Jaisalmer in the city side. However, some developments were.
We'll come back to you. Aman is also joining us. Aman, I believe there's a briefing by senior Indian Army officials that's going on in South Block. What are you hearing? Pakistan has shut off its airspace now for the next 6 hours till noon. I believe there's going to be a further escalation by Pakistan in the next few hours, but India has hit multiple air bases, from the Noor Khan Air Base to the Sukar Airport in Rawalpindi. Multiple air bases have been targeted by surface-to-air missiles. Let us know what is going on. What are you hearing this Saturday morning?
See, Zaka, what we are hearing from Indian government sources is that Pakistan has launched its counter-strike to Operation Sindoor. On May 7th, we saw India strike through Operation Sindoor, and the officials were saying last evening also that these drone attacks, which were launched by Pakistan over the last 2 days, were more of an intelligence gathering mechanism to assess our air defense capabilities. This seems to be the real attack coming from Pakistan. Of course, our air defense system is engaging all these offenses which are being launched by Pakistan. As you said, they have closed down their airspace for the next 5 to 6 hours. Seems that Pakistan is trying to now hit our air bases, and they are trying to launch missiles. That is what we are hearing. The Indian government briefing is about to start. It was to start at 5:45, but it has still not started in the lawns of South Block. Shortly, Indian officials will be briefing us on what exactly is happening. But it seems that this is Pakistan's response, and India is very, very clearly saying that this response is very, very escalatory in nature. We are warning Pakistan to stop this, or India's response to this will be even more severe. Pakistan seems to be escalating the situation, Dhaka, and that is what the Indian government sources are saying so far. We'll await the official press briefing, which is to happen in the next few minutes, Dhaka.
Okay, Anshul is also joining us from Pathankot. What's happened there overnight? I believe there was multiple drones flying over the Pathankot airbase overnight. What is the latest that you can share with us, Anshul?
So yes, specifically over the last half an hour to 45 minutes, there has been at least 30 to 35 loud explosions that we have heard ourselves over here. I'll just try and move out of the frame and try and give a sense as how close is enemy at this point in time. The hills that you are seeing over there, these hills actually belong to the Pakistan. So we are, in fact, Pathankot is very close to the international border, and from this direction itself, there were several projectiles that were launched from the side of Pakistan, but our air defense systems have made sure that all these projectiles that were launched from that end were actually controlled in the air itself. They were blasted in the air itself. Nothing untoward has been reported till now. The Pathankot airbase is absolutely safe, is what we are being told. The situation is still tense because the blackouts are still continuing. There is no electricity across Pathankot over the last 4 hours. The blackout was supposed to end at 4 a.m. It is still continuing over here. There is constant announcements, and there is constant patrolling that is being done by the local police over here, trying to give out this message that people do not need to panic, do not need to step out their houses. They just need to follow the SOPs and everything will be fine. But yes, India's air defense system proving yet again that these Pakistani missiles, these Pakistani drones.
Akash is also there with us. Akash, I believe that off-camp briefing has been cancelled. Now we'll have a regular briefing at 10 a.m. Any idea on why that off-camp briefing has been cancelled and what's going on? What's the word you're picking up from MOD headquarters?
The operations are ongoing, situation is evolving, and that's the reason why they have in fact they have cancelled the briefing. We have been learning, Zaka. In fact, this briefing will be happening after 10 a.m. we have been told, and this will be a regular briefing since we are hearing about several attacks at different places throughout India. Specifically, they are targeting Pathankot, Jammu. In fact, I'm learning about some attempts in Jaisalmer as well once again, but then we'll wait for the confirmation. They are firing ballistic missiles at places. We have been told that there are places where they have been firing ballistic missiles. Artillery is very much on at the LC, and situation is evolving. That's the reason why MOD officials may have cancelled the briefing, but we have been learning. In fact, Pallavi is talking about the briefing that is going to happen at 10 a.m. Zaka, this is the major escalation. We have been talking about it, how India retaliated, and then once again in the morning time, in the daytime now, the attack is on, which is in fact going towards a major escalation, a war possibly. But then at this point in time, Indian armed forces are very much ready and capable, and they, we have been in fact told that air defense systems are very much active, and in Jammu, in fact, there are attempts at least there are 5 to 6 attempts in the last half an hour, we have been told, in Jammu, but all of these attempts are thwarted, and in fact drone attack is there, missile attack is there, and rocket propulsion is something that officers are talking about, possibly a missile when we say rocket propulsion. But Jammu is not the only place. In Srinagar also we have heard a sound, and in fact apart from Jammu and Srinagar, we have been told that in Udhampur also sirens are on. So at this point in time, while India has given it back to Pakistan at 3 different air bases of Pakistan, it seems that Pakistan is once again trying to attack the military infrastructure, specifically the air force stations and the air bases. Possibly they want to attack on airstrips or the the air assets that we have at the air force stations. But yes, an official word is very much expected, because we have been in fact told about several other things. And then I'm hearing the constant sound, Zaka. I want to stress on this particular sound, because Jammu is one prime target. So Jammu is very close to the international boundary, international border. In the initial day, we have seen that how a barrage of drones were launched towards Jammu, and this time around we are learning about missiles. I'm also trying to check the environment. In fact, the clouds where I'm unable to see anything. Very close to the airport I'm standing, and at that particular place only we are seeing, in fact we are seeing this sort of action where we have been told that missiles are there, missiles are coming towards the Jammu Air Force Station and the airport. Both are in close vicinity. Also, other than Jammu and Srinagar, we have been told that there is a target in Haryana. I'll of course not name the location, but there is a target in Haryana as well, which has been in fact thwarted. Missile was launched. We know that how a missile was launched towards Delhi as well, the national capital. They clearly want to escalate it further. It was categorically mentioned by the Indian Armed Forces that we don't want to escalate, and that's why we are not targeting a civilian population. But we have seen that how last night in Firozpur, a civilian population was targeted. Several individuals were hit, because of this sort of target where
Akash,
they,
just give me a moment.
hit one
So
civilian.
the big story happening right now is there's an off-cam briefing by senior officials of the Indian Army. They're saying that there has been retaliatory action that's been carried out. The LOC has been hot for the last 4 or 5 hours. In fact, more than that, it's been hot since last night. But what has happened overnight is Pakistan has now climbed up the escalation ladder from drones, which did not have any explosives. They've now notched it up to drones with explosives. And last night, they have now notched it up one rung further in the escalation ladder, trying to hit India through ballistic missiles, including one, a Fatah-2, which was launched in the direction of Delhi. Thankfully, that's been intercepted in the skies over Sirsa. India has retaliated. India has responded to the Pakistani escalation. India has managed to hit at least 3 different air bases in Noor Khan, of course, which is one of the biggest air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. They've also hit an air base in Chakwal, a civil cum military airport in Sukur in Sindh. So multiple military installations and civil installations as well have been hit. It's been a combination of drone attacks plus missile attacks. I also want to get more information at 10 a.m. The Foreign Secretary will be briefing. Remember, the last 3 days, it's been the Foreign Secretary along with the 2 young women officers of the Indian Army and the Indian Air Force. So that briefing is going to happen at 10 a.m. That's going to be on the record. Right now, what is happening is an off-record briefing by senior officials of the Indian Army. Let's go across to more reporters who are also joining us. Ishan is joining us from Srinagar. Ishan, again, looks like it's been a very hot night in Srinagar as well as in other parts of the Kashmir Valley.
Well, Zaka, right. This is for the first time also that drones came to Srinagar, Avantipura and Baramulla. Multiple, blasts were heard, and the defense system ensured that none of the air bases was hit. The target was to hit Avantipura Air Base and Srinagar Air Station. We should understand that Srinagar Airport is not just a civilian airport. It's a military army, Air Force air station. So that's why they try to hit the crucial infrastructure. And even 5 or 10 minutes back, we heard in Srinagar, people are waking up to the 2 loud blasts that were heard, possibly intercepting some kind of missiles or some kind of projectile being fired towards possibly airports in Srinagar or Avantipura. These are the main 2 bases. But apart from this, we have been learning that they tried to carry out, drone-based attacks last night on the India's military infrastructure, particularly in Baramulla, which acts as a front line for the line of control. So they might have tried to hit the Indian Army's main assets in Baramulla, Srinagar, and Avantipur. But that has been repulsed. What we have been given also to understand is that security around these vital installations has been doubled, and it's amply clear that they are going to attack these vital installations to basically stop the militaries or air forces advance. If at all that happens with Pakistan. But during overnight, there has been massive shelling that has taken place both on the line of control in Kashmir and also other areas of Kashmir where people have already left their houses and left for safer destinations.
All right, Aman is also joining us. Aman, what's the word you're hearing from top government sources? It's been a very, very hot night, escalatory action by Pakistan. India responding with both drone attacks as well as surface-to-air missiles. What are you learning from top government sources? I believe the Foreign Secretary will be having that briefing at 10 a.m. for an official word. But what are you picking up on what an escalatory night it's been between Friday night and Saturday morning?
Well, absolutely, Zaka. It's been a big escalation, first from Pakistan and a big response from India. That is what we're hearing from top government sources, especially India's attack on 3 air bases of Pakistan, mainly the Noor Khan Air Base, which has in Rawalpindi, which is a major response by India, because this is now India firing missiles at Pakistan after the relentless 2 days. Pakistan has sent 300 to 400 drones the previous night, and yesterday also these drone attacks have been incessant on our forward, cities, and all major cities of India are now on high alert, because there is also news that Pakistan fired a missile towards India, which has been intercepted at Sirsa. So Pakistan is really escalating the situation. This seems to be their main attack in the last 2 days. Maybe, as Indian officials were saying at the briefing yesterday, that those attacks were mainly to gauge India's air defense system capability and gather intelligence. This seemed to be the main attack which has happened last night, and though it has been foiled to a larger extent, and we'll get details of that at 10 a.m. when the Foreign Secretary and the government brief us on what exactly has happened. But so far it seems Pakistan is escalating the situation. Indian government sources are saying that Pakistan should stop, because if it doesn't stop, the Indian response is going to be even more fierce. India is ready to go to any lengths to protect its assets, to protect its territory from such missile and drone attacks by Pakistan and by hitting Rawalpindi. India has shown the capability it has to hit in the heart of Pakistan. We have seen these visuals on the screen as well. Indian government sources are very clear that India is not going to step back if Pakistan is going to do such big retaliation that we have seen since last night, and big air bases of Pakistan being hit by India. We'll get more details. I think the official press briefing, Zaka, has also been put off for now because the operation is ongoing. It's a very evolving situation, and the next 2 to 3 hours could be very crucial in determining which way this escalation is now going, Zaka.
Arunima is also joining us from South Block. Arunima, I believe there's been some off-rec information that's been given to reporters. Who was briefing and sorry, what have they said? What is the information that you have?
Yeah, so this was supposed to be an official briefing, to respond to all that DGISPR has said. But what we were told that since air operations have begun again for the last 1 hour or so, air operations have begun again, even though on ground, this is what we learned, that on the LOC, the ground fire that we are hearing, that has become intermittent firing for now. So the entire focus is on the sky. And because of those ongoing air operations, the briefing has been delayed now. The briefing is now expected at 10. But what we can confirm is that, South Block is carrying on retaliatory attacks after Pakistan carried out its misadventure at 26 locations last night as well. And these are air operations mainly that are going on. DGISPR and Pakistani officials claim that Pathankot and Jammu air bases in India were targeted, but there's no confirmation that is coming in from South Block at this stage about whether Pathankot or Jammu air base was targeted at all, because we have seen over the last 2 days also such attempts were made and the attempts were thwarted. India, however, is confirming that three Pakistani air bases have been successfully targeted as a retaliatory action after Pakistan's misadventure. At around 10 o'clock, we're expecting a detailed list of the overnight operations that have been carried out. One must emphasize that what we are being told is that the operation is still ongoing. As we are speaking, the air operations are still on.
So here's what we know, that Pakistan in a dramatic manner tried to escalate the attack on India's military installations. I have a list of places that have been hit overnight, or at least the attempt was made by Pakistan to try and hit. It attempted to attack Udhampur, which is a large base that we have. Pathankot Air Base, one of the forward air bases of the Indian Air Force. The Jammu Air Force Station has also been one of the targets of the attack. Sirsa, where the skies above Sirsa is where the Fatah 2, the ballistic missile, was intercepted and brought down. That, we're given to understand, was headed in the direction of Delhi. So it's a major and dramatic escalation by Pakistan over the last 6 hours or so. I suspect it was after the announcement by the International Monetary Fund that they are releasing that tranche of $1 billion as part of that agreed package for $7 billion over a period of 3 or 4 years. Let me ask you, Arunima, so in response to this, it's clear that Pakistan has escalated and tried to attack India's Air Force and Army bases. India has responded too. Is there any word you're picking up officially from Defense Ministry officials or from senior army sources as to what are the places that India has hit in Pakistan in response to what Pakistan has tried to do?
So before that, Zaka, since you mentioned that, from Sirsa, the target seemed to be Delhi. So what we heard from South Block is that Delhi is absolutely safe, that there was no attempt that was even close to the national capital. So that is one thing that South Block has made absolutely clear, that there's no problem for the national capital. However, on the Pakistani side, the report that we are getting is that Islamabad, Lahore and their air assets were targeted and successfully targeted is what we are being told. However, they're refraining from going ahead and giving an official word or official coordinates, because they do want the Foreign Secretary and the two officials who we have been hearing over the last 3 days between 10 and 10:30. That official briefing is expected, and they do want to give out the specific names and air bases at that press conference. But indications that yes, we have carried out retaliatory attacks in the Pakistani capital. in Rawalpindi and also in Lahore, and they're emphasizing that in spite of all the bombastic claims that are coming in from DGISPR, none of the Indian air bases have been breached. They're all safe. And the national capital, the misadventure that they wanted for the national capital was stopped way ahead. So Indian air defense is still working, but once again to emphasize that the air operations are still on.
All right, so here are the military installations that Pakistan has tried to attack over the last 6 hours. There was an attempt at the Udhampur station, at the Pathankot Air Force Base, the Jammu Air Force Station, and of course over Sirsa, which again is a large Air Force base, Air Force station in Udhampur as well. There, the missile, the ballistic missile, the Fatah-2, which is a medium-range missile, it's about 300-400 kilometers range, which Pakistan tried to send in the direction of the national capital. That has been intercepted and that has been brought down in the skies over Sirsa. So there are at least 4 or 5 Air Force stations that Pakistan has tried to attack, Indian Air Force bases that Pakistan has tried to attack over the last 6 hours. In response, India has hit back and it has targeted at least 3 major air bases of the Pakistan Air Force. The biggest one, of course, the Noor Khan Air Base, right in the heart of Rawalpindi. You've also had an attack on the Chakwal Air Base and the Rafiki Air Base. There's also one on a smaller civilian defense airport in Sukur in Sindh. So at least about 4 locations which are air facilities have been hit by India, both in drone attacks as well as missile attacks. Again, medium-range missiles that have been launched, air-to-surface missiles. Let me go back to our report. Aman is also joining us. Aman, again, just putting this into perspective for our viewers. So up until last night, till that IMF announcement happened, till about midnight or so, Pakistan was sending these exploratory drones, these probing missions. At least on the first night, none of them seemed to have explosives attached. Last night, there seemed to be explosives with some of those drones. But post-midnight or so, this dramatic escalation by the Pakistani Air Force to try and target specifically some forward Indian air bases, and now India in response hitting back and successfully targeting some Pakistani Air Force air bases. This is now a definitive climbing off the escalation ladder. Put it into perspective for our viewers.
Well, absolutely, Zaka. What government sources just told me that, when we attacked Pakistan during Operation Sindoor, we did not target any military installation. These were all terror targets under Operation Sindoor. It is Pakistan which started off 2 days back, by first attacking our military installations, trying to send these drones, to attack the Jammu airport, the other Bhatinda air station, which was mentioned yesterday in the briefing as well, that Pakistan tried to target. It is Pakistan which started it. But yes, over the last 2 nights, what the drones which were sent by Pakistan were more, as you were correctly saying, not were armed, many were not armed. These was most of an intel exercise to assess the capability of our air defense systems, more like a recce missions, which government sources are saying the real attack was kept off till the IMF bailout happened. Soon after the IMF bailout has happened last night, Pakistan has actually launched its operation by trying to target our air bases, and that is why India has retaliated and done this big strike, especially at the Rawalpindi Air Force Base, because that is a major Air Force base of Pakistan. By attacking that, India has shown its capability that Pakistan should immediately de-escalate, because what Pakistan is doing is actually to escalate the situation by trying to target our Air Force bases, our military stations. India did not do that in Operation Sindoor. Our strike was only against the terrorist infrastructure. But Pakistan, by its response, especially today morning, and this news that a ballistic missile was fired towards Delhi is an open, I would say, Zaka, proclamation of war by Pakistan. And, India will respond in greater strength now. That is what sources are telling me, that India will not stop now unless Pakistan stops, because we are committed to defend our military installations, and this kind of an attack by Pakistan will be responded very, very strongly. And we'll hear that, Zaka, from the FS at 10 a.m.
All right, so the Foreign Secretary briefing is going to be at 10 a.m. Likely that he will be flanked by both the Indian Air Force and Indian Army officers, the lady officers. Let's try and bring you up to speed with what India has done in response overnight. It has hit multiple air bases. The biggest one, of course, is the Noor Khan Air Base in Rawalpindi. Rawalpindi, of course, is where the general headquarters of the Pakistan Army is based. This is the heart of the Pakistani Fauj, and it has hit the biggest air base in Rawalpindi, the Noor Khan Air Base. It's also hit an air base in Chakwal, that's also in Punjab. There have been smaller drone attacks in the outskirts of Islamabad. We've had a couple of attacks in Narowal, in Lahore, in Sheikhpura, etc. There's also the Rafiki Air Base in Shorkat, which is in southern Punjab. This has also been hit. So 3 major air bases from Noor Khan and Murid Air Base in Chakwal. the one in Rawalpindi, the Shorkot Airbase, the Rafiki Airbase, and there is a smaller airport, the Sukar Airport in Sindh. So Punjab and Sindh, these are the two heartland provinces. They make up for the bulk of Pakistan. Both of those places have been hit. Some of these smaller blasts have been through what they call loitering munitions, these suicide drones, these LMS drones. But some of the bigger attacks on the Air Force stations, we can show that Noor Khan base attack, the Rawalpindi Air Base attack, that was through a major ballistic missile. We're also getting more breaking news. This, of course, in response to what Pakistan has tried to do in India, getting breaking news that there have been at least 3 blasts that have been reported in Udhampur at the military base there. It's again one of our forward bases. There has been some degree of damage. The damage assessment is being done right now. There has been shelling, and this is, of course, keeping the LOC active and hot. There's been massive heavy artillery shelling that's been going on across Surankot, Jammu, Naushera, as well as Rajouri. Let me go across to Ishan with more details on this. So Ishan, the activity, the heavy artillery shelling is happening now, not just across the LC, but also happening across the international border. Akash has more on that. So Akash, Udhampur Air Force Station, I believe, has suffered some damage. What the extent of the damage is, we don't know. They're assessing that right now. But more importantly, there's also heavy artillery fire across the international boundary, Surankot, Jammu, Naushera, as well as the Poonch Rajouri sector.
Right, so a ceasefire violation is there, at the LC, but yes, Udhampur was one target, and Manoj Gupta is, reporting, in fact, that how, Udhampur has got hit, in fact, but in fact, there were sounds in the Udhampur, and, there we have the headquarters of the Northern Army Command, and that's why it is very crucial place. It was on target, in fact, day before yesterday, yesterday it was on target, but we have no confirmation of the hit, but yes, 3, sounds have been heard, in fact, from this particular location. Also, Zaka, in Jammu, I'm learning about a civilian location being hit. They are targeting civilian population, while the attack on the Air Force station or the air base was thwarted. I'm learning that in Jammu, we have some civilian casualty, possibly, injuries, or I should say, in some time from now, we'll have confirmation, but we have air sirens once again here in Jammu. And, Zaka, they are, today they are launching the ballistic missiles. We know that how they have Fatah series, which has